Hi everybody. I'm going to go over marketing communications so that everyone has a chance to review it before our last test. As you can see, companies spend huge amounts of money on advertising. Traditional advertising, television, print advertising, and also digital advertising. The top 10 advertisers in 2017 aren't surprising. Comcast, Charter Communications, Verizon, AT&T, Communications and Internet, Procter & Gamble, one of the largest consumer packaged good companies, Amazon, another giant retailer, General Motors, Ford's, automobile manufacturers, tech companies, Alphabet, which is Google, Samsung. Surprisingly, Apple isn't on this list. Somewhat surprisingly, more money spent on mobile advertising than television advertising. Actually, if you think about it, millennials and Gen Z, the phone is their most popular device. Gen X, baby boomers have also adopted the phone, though don't use it quite as much. This trend is seen as increasing in the future, that the phone will continue to be the dominant device for consumers. To better understand marketing communications, we're going to look at the model of communication. Now, the model of communication works well for any type of communication. Not only marketing communications, but interpersonal communications. From one person to another, from one to many, from many to many. It's all really the same thing. And these stages or steps in the model serve us well by reminding us to make sure that we take care of all the basics for successful communication. Communication starts with the sender. Effective communication means that the sender usually has some goal or response they're looking for. They have an understanding of who their audience is, their target. In our cases, it's our target market. And finally, they have some idea, some meaning that resides in their head of what they want to communicate, what they're trying to get across. Those are the basics. Without that, it's really almost impossible to have effective communication and to reach your goal. The second step is then encoding. It's the opposite of decoding. Most of us know what that means. Encoding is taking what's inside your head, some meaning, and crafting it in a way and putting it into some type of form, some symbol, some symbolic form that your target audience can decode and get the meaning that you want. Some things are pretty easy to encode. Other things can be very difficult, such as feelings or complex thoughts. Being able to encode in a way that your audience is going to decode it in the way you want them to is usually accomplished most easily or best when both parties, the sender and the target, have a lot of common experience. In the largest picture, that means that they share a lot of cultural meanings, so that the different symbols, the forms, whether they're words, pictures, dances, movements, any combination, video, all have the same meaning. When you have to communicate with somebody or a group of people that have a different cultural background or orientation, it's often best to find somebody who understands that culture to help you with your encoding. After we've turned the meaning into a message, we have to send it down the channel, broadcast it, put it in some type of media. There's lots of different terms that people use for this stage. And really the key thing is that we hit our target. We have to make sure that the message gets to our target audience. So if it's television advertising, then it's what television shows have the right demographics. If it's digital advertising, what websites are our target audiences likely to go to so we can serve up the ads that we want. After we send the message, it gets decoded by the receiver. The receiver takes the message and turns it into a meaning. They interpret the symbolic form the message takes, whether it's words, pictures, video, movements, dance, and come up with a meaning. Oh, that's what they're trying to communicate. And it's their reaction to that meaning that determines how persuasive the message is. If they agree with it, then yeah, it's going to be persuasive. If they disagree with it or discount it, it's not going to be. An issue in creating persuasive or effective communication is the notion of context. Context is the surroundings or situation within which communication occurs. Usually we think about this in terms of cultures. For example, our traditional culture in this country is relatively low context. It's the message that really matters, not the context. So take Christmas, which is right around the corner. If you give somebody a gift, in our culture, many times it's the meaning of the gift, of an expression of your feelings, is based on what the gift is and how much money you might have spent. Other cultures, typically Asian cultures, for example, the context is more important. It means, how is the gift given? What's the wrapping like? Was it in person? How well and neatly is the labels written? And the message. So it's a lot of different factors that go into this that help define the meaning that's derived from the message. Then, once the receiver derives a meaning, then there's feedback. Normally, when we're just having a conversation, we might ask somebody a question, and then we expect some type of feedback. In many forms of marketing communication, such as sales promotion, there's immediate feedback. Other forms of marketing communications, feedback can be really delayed. Television advertising, for example, often takes years before there's any real feedback in terms of people's behavior. You might know the luxury car or the luxury brands for clothing or furniture that you want to buy from all the advertising you've seen, but you're not in a position to buy them right now. Someday you will be. And so the feedback from the advertising is often very delayed. There's a long lag period. One of the other issues in communication is the idea of noise. Noise is anything that can disrupt this process and often occurs at almost any stage. If you're a sender and you're not really sure of what your goals are, or you're having a difficult time composing your message and coding, it's going to lead to ineffective communication. There's noise in the channel. If you have a bunch of digital advertising that you're planning to send out or be delivered for you, and there's internet is down in many parts of the country, or the cellular services because of storms, that's noise. If your target audience is distracted, busy, not in a good mood, sick, that's noise. They have other things on their mind and don't pay very much attention and process the information that you're sending them, that's noise. And there's even noise and feedback. You may start a new communication campaign, marketing communications plan, advertising, sales go up, and you may assume that it's because, hey, our advertising is really working. It could be for other reasons. The economy's gotten strong. One of your competitors went out of business. Maybe they just raised their prices. Maybe you cut your prices, and that's really the reason that you got the increase in sales. So noise is something that you try to control. It's difficult because many times it's outside of our control, but you have to factor into it. So this model serves as a general guide to effective communication. So if you can be sure of all these stages in what you're doing, you're more than likely to have very effective communication. So in essence, marketing communications is developing a set of shared meanings between you and your organization and your target market, referring to your brand and your services. Actually, the preferred term is integrated marketing communications, which means having a consistent message, avoiding mixed messages. It's not so easy. Take, for example, General Motors. General Motors has improved their quality. At least if you believe in J.D. Power's awards, they've won quite a few. Their advertising is letting everybody know that. But at this time of year, it's important for them to sell cars and trucks and SUVs. So now they're offering very large discounts, 20%, up to $8,000 on their SUVs, and even more in trucks. What kind of message does that send? And on top of that, they've recently decided to stop manufacturing cars. So they closed a plant in Ohio, where most of the workers are going to lose their jobs. Now, people in the government and general taxpayers are upset because about 6 years ago, taxpayers spent a lot of money to bail GM out, right, when they went bankrupt. And now they're cutting jobs. So you can see that it's often difficult to maintain consistency through different actions and having different goals. And you have to remember, too, that brand managers or marketers, they don't always have control over the message that's out there, especially with social media. The instances with United not treating their customers well and kicking them off planes. Starbucks, the 2 African American men in Philadelphia. All the grief that Facebook gets because their information was sold to organizations that ended up trying to influence the voting in our country. And on top of that, you have so many different types of media and channels. It's very difficult to keep a consistent message, but it's very important in building your brand equity and maintaining the positioning of your brand. Next, we're going to look at several marketing communication trends. It's probably unfair to call these trends because they're well along the way. The first is the notion or the idea of traditional marketing versus content marketing. Now, in traditional marketing, the advertising, the marketing communications is disruptive. It's an interruption. We watch a television show that really we don't pay for. The network pays for it, and the network that produces it, they get paid by the companies that do the advertising. We tolerate this, we accept it because the show is free. Yes, we may pay for cable, but that's for delivery. We're not paying for the show. So that's kind of the deal or the bargain. We get the things that we want, we have to watch the commercials. Except now, it's really swung in the favor of consumers because it's very easy to avoid commercials with remote controls and over-the-top streaming where we don't have commercials, or watching it on demand where there's limited commercials. So actually, traditional advertising is often seen as being relatively ineffective because, one, people don't want to pay attention to it. It's not what they want to watch. And two, it's pretty easy for them to bypass it. They have selective exposure. Content marketing is the opposite, is non-disruptive. And it really came about with the rise of the internet, websites, and social media. And it's the idea that companies should try to provide content, stuff, right? Movies, songs, videos, blogging, lots of different things that people want to watch. And then put their brand or their company name in the content. So there isn't that disruption or interruption. And yes, you may not have a regular ad and everything in there, but the mental association, the emotional association is, hey, this is the stuff I like, and it's this brand is bringing it to me. And that seems to be very effective in improving and enhancing people's attitudes toward the brand. The key to content marketing is content. Giving people interesting stuff to consume, the content. Whether it's video, whether it's a blog, pictures, graphics, how-to, connection with other people who have similar interests, that's what really works. One of the earliest forms is product placement. Paying to have your brand in a TV show or a movie or even a book or a song. Like that egg down there. All right? Social media. Social media gives marketers the ability to create communities. Think of all the YouTube channels and all the videos out there. It gives you a way to show how customers use your brand in a positive way and to help generate positive reviews. Sponsorship marketing. Sponsoring different groups. Endorsing different groups. The Olympics. Think about college football and during January and late December. It's all those bowl games. They're all sponsored by a company or multiple companies. Their brand name, their company name is shown on the scoreboard and the scores mentioned many times. They don't need to advertise, put a commercial on there. You get all that exposure and repetition. Cause-related marketing. Helping, donating, funding different groups that are important to your target market. Those are all good sources of content marketing. Customer engagement is therefore the goal of content marketing. The idea is to keep an ongoing dialogue, a conversation, build a relationship or a community. So where your brand is recognized as a valued partner, part of the lifestyle of your customer. Social media is one of the prime tools for this. Whether it's Facebook with older people, YouTube with everybody, Instagram with younger people. The tremendous growth in digital marketing communications has led marketers to rethink how they might classify their different types of media. And so we're going to discuss that. And remember, this really has a digital focus to it. And I think that's valuable. So there are three types: paid media, earned media, and owned media. This is known as a PAO model. So paid media is media that the marketer is paying somebody to say or do something about the brand. It's traditional advertising, whether it's a commercial on television, an ad in a publication, pay-per-clicks, search engine marketing, display ads on websites, paid influencers. That's all paid media. And everybody knows that the actors or the celebrities or spokesperson or influencer is getting paid, which, hurts credibility. Owned media is relatively new, so it has more of a digital flavor to it. It's the media owned by the company itself. Back in the day, that might be brochures, publications that they had, print publications, but of course nowadays that's changed. Websites, all right? A website for, mobile phones, blogs, social media channels such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Pinterest, Snapchat, etc. So this is what you say about your brands, about the world, about your customers. And then earned media
is probably the most important nowadays and really a huge influence in how marketing is conducted, especially in terms of marketing communications. And earned media, again, like all of these, isn't new, but it's what people say about your brand or your company. So they're not getting paid to say it. So part of that would include public relations and publicity, which has been going on for a very long time. But with social media, it's all the postings, the likes, the shares, the reposts, review websites, reviews at different companies, online retailers, Amazon, Dick's, etc., about your brand. So this media has the most credibility. Paid, everybody knows that they're paid for saying it. It can be effective. It has its uses, which we'll learn in a little bit. Owned is what you say about your brand. It's important. It's a good tool to engage your customers, but it's not always as credible as earned media, what other people say. So to me, nowadays, marketing, communications, is really about getting other people to say good things about your brand. That's more important than what you say, because earned media is more credible.
Next, we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to look at the promotional mix. Now, remember, mixed means, hey, these are the tools that you have available to you, at least some of them. These are the ingredients that you have to mix together to bake the cake that you want. So most of these you're very familiar with. Advertising, right? Television, radio, digital, print, public relations. Right? And for us in marketing, it's mainly publicity. Creating positive publicity, managing, handling, dealing with negative publicity. From a larger scale, public relations also means internal communications to important shareholders and stakeholders and other forms of communication with the outside world. Personal selling or salespeople, some form of live interactive communication with employees and potential customers. Sales promotion, rebates, coupons, large discounts given, pricing discounts, frequency programs. Those are all forms of sales promotion. And the last one I'm kind of calling direct response marketing. It could be digital, it could be direct mail, it could be email, it could be any form of digital advertising in a way, but it's usually some form of advertising or some type of marketing direct response where they ask for a direct response. There's a call to action is the term that people like to use. Click on this, subscribe to this, visit our website, buy our product, do something that you're asking the target to do. Next, we're going to define them. By defining them, it'll help us really understand the differences and why that's important. First of all, advertising is paid, non-personal communication. Non-personal in the sense that it's broadcast. There isn't somebody at the other end of the message. Public relations is non-paid, non-personal communication. The major difference being that advertising, we know that the actors, a spokesperson, the whole communication's paid for by the advertiser, the hopes of getting us to purchase something. Public relations is information about a brand that is said by a third party, not somebody who works for the company. So that might be the TV anchor on the news. It might be an independent blogger or reviewer on a website. It might be an article or video on CNN or the Huffington Post. Personal selling is paid personal communication. We know the salesperson is paid either directly or indirectly, all right, for delivering the message, trying to get us to do something, to buy. It's personal communication in the sense that it's live or interactive. Sales promotion has a different type of definition. It's an incentive to encourage a particular behavior. Usually that's to buy something. Here's a coupon. Here's a rebate. Send back the UPC codes and we'll send you some money. From business to business, it may be better terms on payment. If you buy extra this month, we'll give you more time to pay it off. Or it may be in the form of a discount. If you buy an extra 15%, we'll give you 5% off your whole order. Sometimes the sales promotion is to get you to do something that will lead to a sale. This time of year, if you walk into Macy's or JCPenney or almost any department store, they're going to ask you whether or not you have one of their charge cards. And if you don't, they're going to try to get you to fill out a form and get one. They'll give you either a discount or they'll actually put $15, $20 into your account that you can spend. You don't have to spend the money in your account. You don't have to use the discount to get the charge card. But they figure by getting you at least to sign up for the charge card, you're more likely to go ahead and make a purchase. The last category is kind of our catch-all category, and that's direct response marketing. This is when people ask for a call to action. And we'll just define it as a conversation and interaction directly between the marketers and the customers, realizing that it's usually to try to encourage a particular behavior or call to action. So one of the big questions in developing a marketing communications plan is, which tools do I use? How much advertising? When should I use advertising? Or should I use sales promotion? Should I invest more in our website or social media? So to get a better grip on that, we're going to look at the different forms of communication. Our promotional mix, which is in the far left-hand column, advertising, public relations, personal selling, sales promotion, our website, social media, and direct response marketing, and how they fare on 5 important factors that often determine which marketing communications tool is the best fit for the situation. The first one we're going to look at is control the message. In other words, how easy or how likely is the message going to be repeated in a way that is satisfactory to you? Or is the message going to get distorted? So we can see that for control of the message, advertising, sales promotion, a website, direct response marketing, email, junk mail, display advertising, that those are really strong at control of the message. Public relations, personal selling, social media, there's very little control. What's the defining reason? Well, public relations and personal selling and social media all involve other people who get to repeat the message. And in that repetition, the message often gets changed or distorted. Yes, even your own sales force may not communicate the benefits of the brand the way you want. They may focus more on the costs. Public relations, you can't control what people say or write. You can try to influence them and try to generate as much positive publicity, but you can't control it. Social media, obviously there's no control. You can't control what other people say about your brand. Advertising, advertising, sales promotion, coupons, rebates, deals, your website, direct response marketing, you control that. And it's usually transmitted, broadcast in a non-personal manner. Now, another important factor is credibility. So let's talk about credibility first. So credibility comes down to three factors, but mainly two. So what makes a person or a message credible? First is the notion of expertise, that the party delivering the message has some experience or expertise where they would know what they're talking about, especially if it's more than what the receiver of the message would know. The second is trustworthiness. Can we trust that the person delivering the message doesn't have their own agenda? They're being honest. The third one, which is important but not quite as strong, is the notion of liking. So people or figures or places that are familiar to us, people that are similar to us, that we know well, they're often viewed as being more credible than places or characters or people that aren't. So we know right off the bat that, hey, advertising and personal sales weak in credibility. Why? They lack trustworthiness. Even infomercials with doctors or people who have advanced degrees that invent something, you may not buy it because they're trying to make $1. Direct response marketing, same issue. Trying to get us to do something, a call to action, ultimately leading probably to a sale. All right? It also suffers with credibility. Public relations has high credibility. Somebody else is saying for it. Sales promotion, the actual coupon, rebate, discount, incentive, yeah, we know that we're probably going to get it. So in that sense, it has high credibility. If you give the person a coupon, they're going to give you the 50 cents off. Websites, surprisingly, at least to me, have high credibility, even though they're owned by the company, and they can pretty much write and present any information they want. But I guess it's a hangover from the idea that, hey, it must be true if it's on the internet. Social media has very high credibility because you see what other people have to say. You don't have to trust the marketer. You don't have to believe their website. There's enough people out there, whether it's reviews, other people or companies in your social network, that can give you their feelings about the company. So if credibility is an issue, you want to go on to use promotional tools that are strong in credibility. Feedback. So feedback is this idea of interactivity, being able to collect feedback on what your target is thinking, how they're feeling, how they're processing the information. All right, and it's going to be pretty similar to measurable results, as you can see. All right, so advertising, it's poor on feedback. All right, feedback comes later, it's difficult to tell, it's not in the same mode, and it's not immediate. Public relations, again, it's the same idea. It's non-personal communication. It's difficult to understand how the impact it has. All right, immediately. Feedback, personal sales is really strong for feedback. They can look at the person, read body language, facial expressions, ask questions. So they have a high degree of feedback and interactivity. Sales promotion. More than you think, right? People could have to do certain things to earn the sales promotion. Go online and like or click or do this or subscribe and things like that. If that's part of the sales promotion, all right? So, and then usually you get feedback, whether it's used or not. Website, high degree of feedback in a general sense. All the movement, all the visitors, companies are able to track from their servers what page they came from, what website, how they got there, how long they spend on every page, what they clicked on, whether they put something in their cart, what they put in their cart and deleted, what page, what website or page they left to go to. So there's a high degree of information and feedback. Social media, it's all about feedback. All right, you know, likes and things that comments that people write, how many people viewed your videos, all that information. And again, direct response marketing, you get feedback based upon people's responses or lack of responses. You can know how many people opened your email, how many people didn't open your email, how many people clicked on the email and came to your website. So again, you have a high degree of feedback. Measurable results, which are real important for determining whether it's a good investment or not. Advertising and public relations, they're hard to quantify because the results are often delayed. We talked about that earlier. There's something that you've seen lots of ads for, you really like it, but it might be years before you buy one. It doesn't mean the advertising wasn't effective. It's just hard to trace the impact of advertising because of the lag in time between viewing the marketing communications and purchasing. On the other hand, personal selling, right? They buy it, they don't. Sales promotion. You have to give away the incentive. You have to send the rebate. You give the pricing discount. The website, all right? You know whether people buy or not. You know whether they visit, okay? Social media, right? You find out when you post things whether people are visiting, whether they like it, whether they go from your social media to your website or to a potential online retailer, whether and purchase the product. And then direct response marketing, it's all about measurable results. How many people actually purchase the product? Perhaps the most important factor is AIDA, which we talked about when we were going over the product life cycle. That is a shortened version of what people have to go through before they buy. It's one way to, nowadays, we might call it their customer journey. And it deals with awareness. Is the person aware of the product, the brand? Interest. Do they understand what it does? Do they know the benefits? Do they desire it versus not only other brands, but different types of solutions? Right? Not purchasing one. Buying something else that's totally different than buying that class of product. And then finally, action, right? I may really want one. I may really like it. I may want to get a new big screen TV, but I'm not going to do it right now because my old TV works fine. So how do I get people to action? So when we really think about the objectives of marketing communications, one of them is really to try to move people through the customer journey. Okay, and then get them to come back and purchase again, to move them through awareness, interest, desire, and action, and make sure that we have enough customers in these different stages in this pipeline so that we can generate sales not only now, but in the future. So advertising is really strong in awareness, interest, and somewhat desire. All right, it can reach a lot of people. Think of a billboard. How many people drive by a billboard on a busy highway near a city? All right? How many people see that? Think of all the exposure. Right? Interest. Right? It's pretty easy to compare brands, develop brand liking with advertising, and even preferring one over a different brand. Public relations is really good at awareness. It's good at interest. Sometimes it can help desire, but it serves much of the same factors as advertising. It's just more believable and credible. Personal selling is not a really efficient form of communication in terms of reaching lots of different customers, but it's the main form of communication in business to business. It's the salespeople that go out there, right, and actually get customers, keep customers, get them to take action. And that's really the strength of personal selling, is creating desire for the brand, being able to ask a customer to buy, then figure out if there's a problem or if there's certain conditions that need to be met, getting them to take action. And that's why salespeople are paid very well. Effective salespeople make a lot of money because they bring in the customers. They're the main conduit, linkage to customers for many companies, especially in business to business. Sales promotion is all about action. Yeah, it can help with advertising and in terms of awareness and interest and desire as you see stuff, but it's all about, hey, do this and I'll give you this. So if you need action, if you have a lot of people who like your brand more than the competitors, but they're not buying, you need to focus on action. And sales promotion is an excellent tool. Again, whether it is business to business, where it's used quite a bit, usually in terms of directly pricing discounts or cooperative advertising, where the company, the marketer, helps pay for advertising for a retailer or a wholesaler, absorb some of the costs, for it, but in exchange they mention their brand or feature their brand. The web, really, the main thing about the web is it can do everything. A website that you can go there and become aware of it, all right, of your brand, develop it, an interest, understanding, and then desire it, and then actually purchase it. And what's kind of neat about a website is you can think about a consumer or a visitor can select the information. So it's almost a customized visit for them. It's not the same commercial repeated over and over again. That with enough content on your website, you can provide the potential customer with all the information that they need. And nowadays, advances in artificial intelligence in creating web pages means that now people can go to the website and in real time, artificial intelligence will put together the information that they think that customer wants based on any previous visits. So that's really the promise of the web. It can do all of the customer journey in one visit. Social media is good for awareness, right? See what other people are using, what influencers are using, saying is popular, all that kind of stuff. Interest and desire. Not that great at action. For instance, Instagram is really, really popular, especially with younger people, millennials, Generation Z, as you guys know. The number of referrals from Instagram to websites for purchase aren't particularly high compared to other social media platforms that aren't nearly as popular. All right, so it's really helpful for AI indeed, but not so much for action. And then direct response advertising or marketing, again, it's all about action and desire, same as personal selling. It's giving you something, a message, asking you to do something, a call to action, and then trying to convince you that it's worth your while to do that. So when you think about marketing communications, you want to think about, hey, how are we doing with our brand, our brands, our products? Is it awareness, interest, desire, action? Where do we need some help? Where are our numbers low? Where are we doing really well? And then using these different tools, the promotional mix, to try to create the right combination to reach the objectives that you want to achieve. The last thing we're going to discuss are the two general marketing communication strategies. One is a push strategy, which is reflected on the upper row, and the other one's a pull strategy. Now, imagine you're the marketer, and that in your marketing channel, and downstream from you in the supply chain, that you sell to a wholesaler. And that wholesaler then sells to a retailer, and then the consumer or the final customer, the end user, purchases it from the retailer. A push strategy is when the manufacturer in this case, who is also the marketer, as you can see from the red arrow, spends most of their promotional money on the wholesaler, the next company in the distribution channel, in the supply chain. It doesn't have to be a wholesaler. It could be directly to a retailer. But that company spends most of their money in terms of their advertising and sales promotion and direct sales, etc., right, on the next party, the next company. So they push it to them and then spend very little or none on the retailer. In this example, it's up there, or the end user. It's up to the wholesaler or whoever they sold it to push the product through the rest of the channel. So, for example, an industry that uses mainly push strategy is furniture. How many brands of furniture can you name? Probably not too many. You might recognize some retailers. Bob's Discount Furniture, Raymore and Flanagan, Ethan Allen. All right, you might know some mattress companies, Sealy, Serta, and maybe Lazy Boy for recliners, but after that it's difficult. There's a lot of manufacturers. The reason that you don't know about them is they spend most of their money for marketing communications on a push strategy. Why? Well, first of all, if you want to get your furniture sold, it has to be in a store. Pretty much. Right? Even though nowadays people are willing to buy furniture online without ever trying it out. Now, to get in a store for the retailers, they have to have a lot of space. Inventory is expensive and large. So if you sell to Bob's, if you want to be sold, you have to be in the store. If you're not in the store, you have almost no chance of getting sales. So Bob's, or in the furniture industry, the retailers have a lot of power. Right? They offer a lot of value. So what they want is lower prices, discounts, specials during the holidays and different times of the years, promotional money or tools to help sell slow-moving furniture. A pull strategy is the opposite. So the manufacturer, the marketer, spends their money on the consumer. So that's where the dollars go. The consumer then walks into the retailer or the wholesaler, whoever's selling it, and buys the product. And so then the retailer and the wholesaler want more of it from the manufacturer. The greater the demand for the product with the end user, the more demand by the retailer and wholesaler, which then comes back to the manufacturer. It's derived demand from what we talked about in the supply chain. So many consumer package companies, products aimed at consumers, spend their money on the consumer. They use a pull strategy. And by creating that strategy and that desire for the product with the end user, it helps pull the product through the channel so that any other parties, any other organizations in the marketing channel want to buy that. It gives more value, more power to the manufacturer. Push strategies tend to be less costly than pull strategies. They often involve personal selling and sales promotion because you're selling to another business. They're easy to measure the results. But on the other hand, if you're dealing with a strong wholesaler or retailer, you're likely to struggle with your pricing. So you usually find them with smaller companies, companies that deal with very large, powerful retailers like Amazon or Walmart. If your brand name is unknown or relatively unknown, push strategy will often make sense. So we see them in industries like furniture, power equipment, business to business marketing, a lot. Pull strategies, definitely more expensive than push, uh, often involve a, a lot of advertising or other promotional mix elements where there's a time lag, makes it hard to measure the results. Can help really increase your brand name, your brand equity, which will improve your profitability. Also enables you to add value and have more power in your supply chain. Pretty common when the brands are more important than the channel members. Certain food brands are more important than the supermarkets that sell them. Often used in intensive distribution where you're trying to sell it in as many outlets as possible. So you want to create demand with the end user. So people go to many different types of retailers or outlets to purchase it. Can also be used when channel members sell competing brands. So obviously supermarkets and retailers and other types of wholesalers sell multiple brands in the same product category. So it's a good way for you to differentiate yourself from your competition and create a competitive advantage if you're the preferred brand. So, which is better? Which one should you use? What do most companies use? Well, in an ideal world, most companies would use a combination of push and pull. Procter & Gamble spends a lot of money on pull. Spends over $7 billion globally on advertising. They also have a very strong sales force that works directly with many different supply chains. Whether I think about all the supermarkets their products are in, mass merchandisers like Target and Walmart, Home Depot, wholesalers, drugstores, etc. Ideally, you can use a combination of both to create a lot of value for your brand. The hard part is it's expensive. So you have to do well, and it's a big investment. So in reality, most companies do both, but usually they're primarily either push or pull.